Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
8:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News for a Good Friday. You know, Sunday marks Donald Trump's third month in office. Now, we're talking earlier about how it feels like what Donald Trump has done and his administration has done is they really have compacted 4 years in a 3-month period. And that is what it seems like. And so you go through all of the things that Donald Trump has done for our country in the first 3 months. And as I go through some of this, need some audio, KGB. As I go through this, I want you to think about, it's almost like with Donald Trump, there is an equal and opposite reaction from the Democrats, because everything that Trump does, they have a spectacularly horrific reaction. For example, the southern border. We do know that he did and has deported all of those illegal gang members.
At our southern border, southwest border crossings in March fell to the lowest level in American history, down 94% from March of last year under President Biden, when 137,000 illegal aliens poured across our wide open southern border.
I mean, listen to those numbers. It is astonishing when you just look at the numbers and you listen to the numbers. So I'm going through a lot of Donald Trump's first 3 months in office, his victories. And clearly one of them is taking control of the southern border.
The Los Angeles Times captured the Trump effect on the border with a recent article. Their headline read, "California-Mexico border, once overwhelmed, is now nearly empty." With so few migrants coming into the U.S., they wrote, "Shelters that once served migrants have completely closed."
Right. And obviously, it was relatively easy if you think about it. Remember when Alejandro Mayorkas, and I don't have any audio, you're welcome, but remember when Mayorkas and Biden and Kamala Harris and all of these jackholes on the left would be like, well, the system is broken, we're waiting for Congress to act. All of that was BS. Donald Trump literally fixed the problem in a couple of months. And so particularly on the border, particularly the conversation about the border, it shows you how intentional it was with the Biden administration allowing all of these folks into our country, and of course the parolees as well, who they flew into the country. I think that was a story earlier this week. Was it how many? Thousands. How many of those parolees were flown in? Was it 500,000? For whatever reason, that number is in my mind. I don't know if that's true or not, but we do know that a lot of them were the ones who were flown into our country. We do know that they were unvetted. We also know that they flew them into cities across America. Didn't tell us, including Tennessee, didn't tell us who they were or when they were coming. And so Trump has so easily dealt with closing the border and stopping all of this that, again, it proves that the Biden administration was intentional in wanting all of these illegal aliens to come in, which proves that people like me and people like you, when we would say they're doing this on purpose, it proves that we were right. DOGE, of course, that has been a massive success. It doesn't matter what the Democrats are screaming. The Democrats' reaction to Elon Musk has been nothing short of peculiar and damning for the Democrats. Now, according to the DOGE website, so far, they have saved $155 billion or $962 per taxpayer. Now, equally as important is that they have exposed all the waste and all that fraud that was being done, especially under Joe Biden. Here's Elon Musk.
I mean, the fraud we're seeing is overwhelmingly on the left. These NGOs are almost all left-wing NGOs that are being funded, for example. They hate me because Doge is being effective, and Doge is getting rid of a lot of waste and fraud that people on the left were taking advantage of. That's what it comes down to. This is the thing why they really hate my guts and want me to die.
I love that. This is why they hate my guts and they want me to die. Because he has saved $155 billion or $962 per taxpayer. Now, as you hear Elon Musk, and he's talking about how they want him to die, they literally want him to die. Big story the last couple of weeks was the assassination culture. Because with every success that I'm talking about with Donald Trump, it has led the Democrats to justify assassinating Donald Trump or Elon Musk. It is a horrifying thought. It is a horrifying conversation. But it is also very real. And, there's some people that said, oh, well, that is just a silly poll and nobody really takes it seriously. Really? Okay. Then let me ask you this question. How many Democrats came out and disavowed that poll? Did any Democrat disavow that poll? Did any Democrat condemn the poll that showed that 55% of Democrats could justify, even partly justify, the assassination of Donald Trump or Elon Musk? Did anybody? The other question that I would have is, did any member of the Sunday shows, CNN, MSNBC, did any of them ask a Democrat if they condemn the notion of the assassination of Donald Trump or Elon Musk? They didn't ask. Do you know why they didn't ask? Because they didn't want to put them on the spot, because they know that if, say, for example, remember that audio, sadly I don't have it handy, but when they asked Chuck Schumer, when a conservative journalist asked Chuck Schumer if he would condemn this assassination culture, and he said, I don't want to talk about Elon Musk. So the reason the media didn't ask the Democrats about that is because they don't want to expose the Democrats for actually agreeing with the poll. And we're just kind of, I'm kind of riffing here, going through the first 3 months of Donald Trump and a lot of his victories. And by the way, his victories, in my opinion, far, far, far outweigh any defeats that he's had. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. 15 as far as your weather for today. It's going to be a nice day and a great weekend. Today, a high of 85 and sunny. Saturday, a high of 87, partly cloudy. And on Sunday, high of 86 and partly cloudy. Thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News. So we're going through and I'd be interested to know, on the super text line, has Donald Trump, and Joan, you can chime in here, because I'm trying to think of, and KGB if you want to, has Donald Trump had a serious defeat as of yet? I don't know.
In this administration?
In this administration. Like in the first 3 months, because I'm going through the victories of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Has he had a major defeat? And I'm trying to think of the Supreme Court, and one doesn't come to mind, but of course, it's Friday and I'm old, so I may have forgotten. So, but I can't.
And it's Dangria Day.
And it's Dangria Day. That's exactly right, Joan. So I'm trying to think of if Trump has had a major defeat as of yet. I mean, we had the whole Textgate thing, but I don't even think that was all that big of a deal. Nobody died.
They're trying. I mean, the media's trying.
Absolutely trying.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to talk about catastrophes, nobody died in Textgate as opposed to Joe Biden's massive foreign policy screw up where, the failed pullout of Afghanistan, all of that. So I don't want to. So,
okay. So somebody is 1726 said the Epstein file fluke.
You know what?
Failure. Epic fail.
Epic fail.
Yeah.
And you know what I said about that? I don't know if it was on there or off there. They need to just shut up about that.
Yeah. If they don't have the goods, then just shut up.
I heard Pam Bondi the other day. I don't know where she was, but she said something to the effect of, I think it was in that cabinet meeting with Trump, where she said something about the Epstein files and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, you don't have it. You need to stop.
Yeah. Agreed.
That is, and thank you, whoever that was, because that was a failure of Trump.
And quite frankly, I'd like Pam Bondi to stop showing up in media appearances and stick to her job. Like, gets.
Chris Hand has arrived.
Yes,
that
he certainly has. Yeah. I really feel like, just shut up and
Stop
get
it
to
already
work
and do your job.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. So yeah, that's one. But one of the big victories of Trump is, of course, keeping biological men out of women's sports.
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that we have to be here, that we as women have to stand before you all on national television demanding equal opportunities, demanding privacy in areas of undressing, demanding safety in our sports. Amazing to me that we are still here fighting this fight.
Yeah, that's Riley Gaines. And of course, the Republicans are dealing with all the lawsuits of keeping Middle Tennessee's own Riley Gaines, by the way. And she's talking about dealing with all of the lawsuits that are out there, and they are fighting this fight. But you know what? Donald Trump signed that executive order protecting women, protecting women's sports. Democrats, of course, lost their ever-loving minds. So there is that. And again, that is a great victory for Donald Trump, especially, and Joan and I, we talked about this, when the president was surrounded by all of those little girls as he signed that executive order. That was amazing. The tariff battle does continue, and it is early yet. We've already seen dividends from the tariff battle. You've got NVIDIA, you've got Hyundai, you've got Apple, Honda, many other companies saying that they are going to move some manufacturing operations here, much to the dismay of Democrats.
For the next 4 years, the Trump agenda is focused on Main Street. It's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn to hire workers. It's Main Street's turn to drive investment. And it's Main Street's turn to restore the American dream.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And that was, of course, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, when he said, and this was in a speech, that Trump understands there's concerns about the market, but his concern is bringing jobs back to America. And that is exactly what he is doing. And look, we have had some successes with the economy. Jobs are up. Inflation is down. Consumer spending is up. Gasoline prices have gone down. Investment is in America is up. Now, we have a long way to go in dealing with China, and I also understand that the ramifications of the tariff war, some of them have yet to be felt. I do understand that. I'm not naive enough to sit here and say, oh, we're not going to have any negative ramifications or consequences of the tariff war. Trump and Scott Bessent and others have actually come out and said, we will have some short-term consequences. This is a long-term play. And as I said yesterday, with my concern about this being, and it's a long-term play. My concern is for the midterm elections. We know that the Democrats, if they end up, Lord help us, with the majority in the House of Representatives again, all progress stops and impeachment hearings will begin. I can guarantee you that is what's going on. We have a long way to go. We are, though, of course, dealing with China the best that we can. Europe, by the way, is coming along and wanting to negotiate with Donald Trump. Just yesterday, I love this moment. Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, she was in Washington, D.C.
I know that when I speak about West, mainly I don't speak about a geographical space. I speak about a civilization. And I want to make that civilization stronger. So I think even if we have some problems, between the two shores of the Atlantic, it is the time that we try to sit down and find solutions. So I want to thank President Trump for having accepted an invitation to pay an official visit to Rome in the near future and consider the possibility in that occasion to meet also with Europe. The goal for me is to make the West great again. Okay, and I think we can do it together.
Absolutely love that. She came in. People, by the way, are calling Giorgia Meloni the Trump whisperer. She is there, and they're saying that she is on a charm offensive with Donald Trump. But the reality is that she's saying all the right things. And so you just heard her singing the praises of Donald Trump, wanting to work as a team. And so she's now inviting Donald Trump and the rest of Europe to come to Rome to work out tariff deals and get on the same page. Now, the question is, what about China?
I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to continue. And I would say they have reached out a number of times.
Do you believe
a lot, all the time. We're talking. I believe we're going to have a deal with China, and if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway because we're going to set a certain target, and that's going to be it.
So I just went through a lot of the Donald Trump victories and a lot of the will sees, because I think the tariff thing, I think that we are seeing early dividends, but this is one of those where we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the midterm elections. We'll have to wait and see what happens if the Republicans take the presidency again in 2028. Hopefully, and I believe it'll be either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. The market, by the way, has been spooked because you got all these naysayers that are, in my opinion, intentionally trying to spook the market and talk us into a recession. But Trump has to be fearless on this. By the way, a few other things that Donald Trump has succeeded in. He signed the Laken Riley Act, of course, that requires illegal aliens, the detention of illegal aliens charged with theft or violence. He's fast-tracking domestic oil production. He's wrestled control of the Panama Canal from China. He has secured the release of 11 American hostages. Still some work to do with Hamas, but, I mean, that's a pretty good feat. He's engaged in peace talks with Russia and Ukraine. Still no deal. I told you the news this morning. Marco Rubio is talking about walking away, and sometimes that is what you need to do, or at least that's what you need to threaten to do. And also, don't forget, he pardoned the J6ers. So Trump has had an enormous amount of success in his first 3 months. And of course, the list goes on. Remember, Republicans are still on board with what he's doing. So says Harry Enton, who reported that his polling shows Republicans would not change their vote even if they could.
What percentage would change their vote to a different candidate? We're talking just 2%, just 2%. That's not even a wide spot on the road. And then there's this additional 1% who say they would rather not vote. We're talking overall under 5% might or would have changed their vote, Donald Trump voters back in 2024. So if there was a repeat, if folks got to be able to redo their vote that they had back in 2024, would the result be any different? I doubt it would be. So the bottom line is this. If there's some idea out there that Trump voters are going around, man, I wish I had voted for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump, the numbers say that is a fanciful universe. It really, for the most part, does not exist.
8:25, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up?
We'll tell you what El Salvador's president says is next after a Maryland senator sat down with Kilmar Abrego Garcia last night, and some county workers admit they made a mistake that led to the flooding in a Montgomery County neighborhood. We'll have that and more coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.